Good evening, everybody. It's Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. It is August 12th, 2024, just before midnight here on the East Coast. And I want to give you an update on Janet Phelan. Janet is a journalist, a targeted female journalist, and she filed an injunction with the CIA. They're giving her a really hard time, and I just received an update today. So I wanted to give you an update just to let you know how this is going for her and how it may go for you if you try to sue the CIA. So here we go. Just letting you know that the Ninth Circuit advised me that they're holding off on agendizing my injunction, as the first court had deemed it malicious and frivolous. Due to this, they were requesting that I tell them why I should proceed. About, because she's just being, killed slowly. It's so minor. I sent them pretty much the content of the appeal brief and got it off today, as the first court substantially misstated both the law and fact in order to dismiss my case. I am confident that I adequately address the issues. I got this in an under-the-wire Baruch Hashem, Hashem. So now I can breathe for a few days, as well as schedule some more radio shows about all of this. What the first court stated is that the United States, has sovereign immunity. Sort of like, the cops have qualified immunity. It doesn't matter how bad they are, they just can't get prosecuted, which is not true, actually. So what the first court stated is the U.S. has sovereign immunity and cannot be sued, and that it lacks subject matter jurisdiction here is utterly alarming. In one stroke of the pen, the first court obliterated any constitutional protections against government encroachment by its assertions. I trust you all understand that this does not bode well for any of us. Rock on in the free world, Janet. Is this unbelievable? It's just the protection of this program is off the charts. So I just wanted to give you that update on that. And let's see, I've got something else here on smart meters. So this is just an email that I received. I'm going to read a little bit from The Hidden Evil, the Delete's Covert War on Us. Smart meters, brain symptoms, and solutions. This is some knowledge learned on smart meters. It's used for surveillance. When it updates usage, it goes straight to the technocratic computer system. It coincides with cyber activities. The hours are around 3 to 3:30 a.m. Which is the witch hour, huh? It's the exact time that this woman is awoken nightly while fighting off the AI menticide. RF wireless is read by local electric company towers. There's one near her. Well, there's a few near me, too. It's all connected to the 5G antennas and electric poles. You'll know if it's on. It's owned by BlackRock, Rockefeller, Rothschild, Morgan, etc. investors, with Vanguard stockholders and other company corps, including Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, which runs 48 of the fusion centers, and other military industrial complexes. BlackRock, via their stakeholders Vanguard and State Street, own everything. After researching the pandemic, I learned that the corona symptoms are the same as high-powered RF microwave electromagnetics. When solar flares and corona mass injections hit the earth, I feel it. Isn't that interesting? The corona mass ejections. Oops, that was a Freudian slip. The corona mass ejections, that come from solar ejections. Oh my goodness. So now there was something else here about the symptoms for smart meters. Wait 1 second. Where'd it go here? There was another one here, so I'm not locating it right now. But anyway, we're going to move on to reading where I left off on the hidden evil. Sorry about that. That's my phone alarm. The Hidden Evil, the Financial Elite's War Against the Civilian Population by Mark M. Rich. And I'll read the back again. Mark provides compelling evidence that wealthy Satanist psychopaths are waging a covert war right in your neighborhoods as they establish a global dictatorship known as the New World Order. Their potential enemies are placed under constant surveillance by their security forces and attack with silent and traceless energy weapons that leave no visible injury. And I'll say I beg to differ on that because I have visible injuries. These attacks are combined with psychological warfare used to inflict recurrent emotional pain. To enforce the rule on the street level, they have recruited a majority portion of the civilian population to stalk and harass targeted individuals. In this book, you'll learn the chaos that the financial elite have created in the past, why citizens obediently enforce their rule, the reasons people are targeted, the tactics that are used, its purposes, why the media won't properly cover this issue, and why it is allowed to exist. In order to install a dictatorship, the streets must be controlled. Your cities have been turned into a covert war zone, and multinational corporations hold the high ground. The hidden evil is their strategy for secretly neutralizing their civilian enemies. Many are targeted, and most are unaware of it. Okay, so I started reading about the tactics, and I left off on page 71. So we're going to go to page 72. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, no, 71 starts the sensitivity programs, Neuro Linguistic programming. Some of the sensitivity tactics used by these groups are borderline subliminal attacks designed to create phobias. You hear that? They want to create phobias. Yeah. That's how sick these people are. They are apparently based on Neuro Linguistic programming, NLP. You can think of NLP as a very powerful tool that can be used to produce rapid, profound change. The parts of NLP that these citizens are directed to use include anchors and triggers. The goal of these sensitivity programs is to condition people with damaging emotions, which are linked to triggers such as objects, colors, movements, and sounds. Once this is done, a target can be covertly injured openly in public. This may happen with or without the target's conscious awareness. As I'll demonstrate, this can be brutal. There is a basic protocol that the perpetrators begin with, but the TI contributes to the modification, explained McKinney. She described a Pavlovian conditioning program that is used to get targeted people to respond to triggers which are continually built into the protocol. It's an ongoing process, she explained. It's sort of like all the stray animals they let loose on my property and then have one attack me. And then at the same time that the controlled cat attack happens, they're cutting into my arm a triangle with their laser from a distance. There's a basic protocol that the perpetrators begin with, but the TI contributes to the modification. These conditioning techniques, says Moray, are used during group stalking to make the TI experience perpetual negative emotions. Self-help gurus use these methods to create positive emotional states and anchor them to movements, sounds, or objects which become the triggers that will invoke the emotion. Although this sounds complex, it's pretty simple in practice. It's done by creating a peak emotional state, then anchoring it by doing something repeatedly, which effectively anchors the emotion to whatever was done. A stimulus which is linked to it triggers a physiological state, and it's called an anchor in NLP, stated Joseph O'Connor and John Seymour in their book Introducing NLP. They explained that anchors can be set in a single instance if the emotion is strong and the timing is right. We're unconsciously creating anchors in our environments all the time with people, music, places, and objects. The conditioning techniques used by this global stalking network were obviously designed by people knowledgeable in behavioral sciences. These civilian swarmers are used to create negative emotional states in targeted people such as fear and anxiety and anchor them to common objects. This is the deliberate creation of a phobia. Organizations known to have researched NLP include military intelligence agencies, the CIA, the FBI, State Bureau of Investigation, and in the structure chapter, I'll provide evidence that Dr. John B. Alexander and Mrs. Janet Morris have contributed to the creation of this program on behalf of the financial elite as part of a political agenda. In their 1992 book, The Warrior's Edge, Dr. Alexander and Morris wrote that some federal government programs officials were trained in NLP and that the U.S. Military Intelligence and Security Command, which is for short INSCOM, has played a basic role in its dissemination. Anchoring, quote unquote, said Morris and Alexander, is based on the neurophysiological assumption that patterns of behavior can be installed, then reactivated whenever a similar situation is encountered or created. Knowing this, you can intentionally install anchors to return your target to specific emotional states. There has been some concern in the mental health field over the potential misuse of NLP. Unfortunately, like other tools, they can be misused in the wrong hands. Well, guess what? It's in the wrong hands. Steve Andreas and Charles Faulkner warned of the possible uses and misuses of this technology in their book 1996 book, NLP, The New Technology of Achievement. O'Connor and Seymour similarly cautioned that these stimuli can be misused to trigger very potent negative emotional states. This is the realm of phobias. So they want to create fear. They want you to be afraid. These people are sick. They're totally sick. Okay? These people are depraved lunatics. Put simply, NLP is being used to inflict emotional injuries. The deliberate infliction of emotional pain is an act of violence. It's premeditated. The use of NLP in this manner is similar to a physical attack, such as a punch or a kick, and it only leaves no visible injury. Well, actually, it often does leave a visible injury. Targets are constantly monitored, says McKinney. And if a target responds emotionally to a particular trigger, that will be built into their protocol. That's why they keep sending animals to my property. For instance, to transfer a negative emotion to a color or object, they may have multiple citizens wearing the same color or carrying a similar object swarm you, during which time you may be attacked with directed energy and noise. I could care less about the colors. Targets around the world have reported being sensitized to sounds, gestures, cell phones, laptops, pens, cars, watches, clothing, symbols, colors, and other items. This type of attack does require some maintenance and will lose its potency unless it is reinforced. There are many other attacks which NLP can be used for. This can include a recent traumatizing event which may have been facilitated by a faction of this network. For example, an accident, death of a family member or pet, or some type of a brutal assault that has been linked to a trigger. Oh, like the cat attack, the controlled cat attack. And while the cat is attacking me, at the same time they're using a laser to cut a triangle in my forearm. Then shortly afterward, you may be group stalked by people who project all that trigger, which is intended to arouse the emotional pain you suffered during the experience. In NLP, the process of copying an emotional state from an existing trigger to a new trigger is called chaining. Groups will take an object you've been sensitized to and link it to another object. The idea is to keep expanding the amount of objects that you associate fear, anxiety, anger, sadness, or shame with. For instance, one of your neighbors has made it clear that they're attacking you. Now, you know they are. And they know you know. So they may be used in an attempt to sensitize you to another stimulus, such as a car alarm. Because you've already associated them with pain, they can extend their harassment to a sound by turning their car alarm on or off in rapid succession over a short period, multiple times through the day. And after they've done this for a couple of days, and you've been sensitized to that sound, they can occasionally use it to inflict pain. Even though it's only done a couple of times, you know why they're doing it, and you may feel negative emotions. You may also feel frustrated at the prospect of trying to explain this harassment to another individual. Because they have not had your experience with that sound and are not aware that it's a small part of a much larger harassment program, it may be difficult to explain that those beeps were actually an attack. After a person has been sensitized